What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Kyle. That is my 2023 BRZ, and today I'm gonna review it. What a good sound. Well, this is a first for me. I will be reviewing the BRZ on my commute to work. I figured I have a little bit more than an hour and some change, so why not use this time to talk about the car. Now, the main point of this video is to answer a few questions, namely the same questions that I had before I bought this BRZ, such as how does it drive? Is it fast? Can you daily it? Does it have potential? And ultimately, is it enough? So just a little background on this BRZ. I picked it up February 3rd, 2023 from Paul Miller Subaru out in New Jersey. I picked this up for MSRP because they're just the goats like that, despite the fact that BRZs and especially GR86s have some insane markups. Paul Miller really came through for me. That being said, I've owned it for a little over 7 months now, and though I haven't driven the car a ton, I'm at 3,438 miles on it right now, so still baby miles. I believe I've driven the car in enough scenarios and situations to really get a feel for it and get an understanding of what it brings to the table. First question. I'm not gonna do a poll right here because there's always a cop who waits right there. He got me in the minivan, actually. I wasn't even speeding, so God forbid he sees a loud tinted car, you know? So the first question is it fast? No, it's not. But that's a good segue into the pros of this car. I would say the number one pro of this car is that it's enjoyable. This is not a high horsepower track weapon. It's not a street legal missile. What it is a light front engine, rear wheel drive sports car. It's got a great power to weight ratio at 220 horsepower to 2,800 pounds. This is a car that you can do a lot with for not a lot of money. You can zip around town in it and look good doing it. You can commute to work and not be as miserable. And then after that, you can carve the back roads and be more than capable. So no, it's not fast. You know, you still have to catch minivans off guard. But not for nothing, it is just as fast, if not a little bit faster than the new WRX stock for stock. In fact, I believe it was CarWow that did a U-Drag video on it, and the BRZ is substantially up there, if not a little bit better than the new WRX. Plus, it looks, in my opinion, 1,000 times better. This car isn't fast, but it feels quick, and that's attributed to its gearing, its throttle response, and the ergonomics of the thing. Your seating position, where your shift knob is. All around, a fun and nice car to be in. It's not super fancy, it's not packed with tech, but as a driver's car, that's not something you really need. And she sounds good. You're probably gonna lose a lot of races in this car, but to be honest, you're gonna lose with a smile on your face. You're gonna zip around town with a smile on your face. You're gonna commute to work with less of a frown. And then you're gonna take the back roads home and you're gonna be absolutely beaming. How do I know? Because that's what I experience. And downshifts are just so good. So crisp, just good shifting car. Now, another place this car shines is value. Like I said, this car is incredibly enjoyable. Power to weight is there. It's not fast, but it's more than enough for daily driving. It has the classic sports car drive and dimensions. What I mean by that is front engine, rear wheel drive, under 3,000 pounds. And that's great. In today's market, you'd have to get something like the Miata or, I don't know, an older gen BRZ, S2000, an old Porsche. But generally speaking, to get a brand new car that's this fun for this cheap, obviously cheap is a relative word, but we are living in the day of the $30,000 to $40,000 Corolla and Prius. So this kind of value, this kind of driving experience is becoming rarer and rarer. And it's offered in manual. though the BRZ is not built to be a practical car, it certainly has enough room to be dailyable. You know, you're not bringing a family of 5 cross country in it. Absolutely not. But you, your friend, your girlfriend, your dog, and 2 others who are short or have no legs can commute around. You can go somewhere, you can take a short trip. But where this car really shines is you alone or you and another person with your stuff in the back, going for cruises, going for fun drives, carving up the back roads, and having a damn good time while doing it. Also, let me say this now and get it out of the way. I apologize for the inconsistent lighting. As you guys know, I have a very darkly tinted car. The problem is, it is very, very, very bright out. We're getting like that second summer here in New York where it's currently 92 degrees and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. That's insane. So I think it's supposed to feel like something like 100 today. So my windows are darkly tinted. It's super bright outside, so that harsh light might be coming through, but I am far back enough to be in the shadow, in the shade. So yeah, the value of this car for what it is incredible. I know GR86s are seeing some ridiculous markups, but Subaru has done a fairly decent job of keeping these cars at MSRP. I did find a few that had like a $1,000, $2,000 markup, but like I said, Paul Miller hooked it up with MSRP. And in my opinion, you're not gonna get a car like this with an almost perfect 50-50 weight distribution for anywhere near this price in this modern age of ridiculous car market sales. And it's not the most impractical vehicle, you know? Like I said, you're not gonna haul a family of 5, but you and another person can go away for a weekend and have everything you need fit in the back seat and the trunk. For the question of can you daily it, yes, you can daily it. It was an option of mine to daily it, but I chose not to just because it's not worth sitting in traffic in this car and putting miles that aren't enjoyable on this car. Let me show you something. This is my commute. This right here is my daily grind. Every day, Monday through Friday, twice a day. Sometimes it's even worse coming home, but look at, like, I'm leaving a lot of distance between me and the car in front of me right now, but if you looked at just down there, you see? It's a straight up parking lot. It's a straight up parking lot. Getting a car like this, if you're just gonna sit in traffic like that, is not worth it. When I purchased this car, traffic was nowhere near this bad. But now that traffic is back like this, if you're getting a car like this to daily it on traffic like this, I would say it gets old really fast. What good is having this amazing driving experience if you aren't really driving? You're kind of just going from one parking lot to the other. This car's got the enjoyment factor, it's got the value, it's got decent practicality. Another pro that it has is the aftermarket. Now this is the second generation of the BRZ/86, but a good amount of parts from the last generation carry over. Suspension, wheels, some exhaust setups, that kind of thing. And as many of you know, suspension and wheels is pivotal to any build, to making any car look right, feel right, etc. And this carryover is also important because that means that there's research done already. Though you have to make a few tweaks to really get it dialed for this platform, you more or less have an idea of what suspension works, what kind of stiffness you should run, what kind of camber you should run, what kind of tires you should run from the last generation. And because this car is huge in the tuner scene, it's 1, recognizable, and 2, already offers a ton of things like body kits, you know, and that's something that can take years to come out for other platforms. You know, the research and the development is already there for this generation, which is great. And would you look at that? There is a fellow 86 on the road. Hey friend, how you doing? What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Good looking car. And that brings us to the next pro of this car, and that is the community. Subaru enthusiasts, if you know about the Subaru cult, you know that it's such a supportive space. With the BRZ and the 86, it's the same situation. But now you have people on the Toyota side who love this car as well. Like this orange 86 behind me. So the support is there. There's so much community support around this car. So that means if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to make X amount of horsepower, if you want to run X amount of camber, odds are there's somebody who has dabbled in that. You're not going into any situation completely in the dark. So just like with the aftermarket world where there's a lot of research and development, there's also a lot of people who have tried the things that you might want to try. There are people who have turboed this car. There are people who have supercharged it. You know, there are people who have LS swapped this car. You're really never alone in your build. Financially, you might be, and car parts are expensive. But in terms of information, in terms of even just getting a hand, you are gonna have somebody who will pull up and know exactly what to do. Or you're gonna have somebody who's willing to pull up just so they can learn alongside with you. And though this is generally true for the car community, I find that it's even more true, the bond is even stronger in the BRZ/86 realm. So now, let's get into the cons of this car. Because though this car is an amazing car, it's rated 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. There are some cons, or there are some things that I wish this car had. Number one, power. You have to be the kind of person who is content with a nice and fun car. Fast, this car is not. I mentioned it a while ago. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment of this car, the enjoyment factor, but if you are the type of person who wants more horsepower, this car might not be for you. Why do I say that? This car comes stock with 220 horsepower. If you drive this car enough, if you take it through the back roads enough, you will kind of want more. You kind of want to be able to keep up with your friends in their BMWs or their American muscle cars. And in the back roads, you'll have no problem keeping up. But being on the highway, going on a cruise, going somewhere, going on a rally type of deal, you're gonna fall behind, or you're gonna have to make your car work a lot harder to keep up with them. In my opinion, that's a con. Now, there are ways to add horsepower to this car. You could go full bolt-on, you could go E85, you can turbo it, you can supercharge it, even LS swap it if you've got the money like that. But the amount of money you need to put in to get this car to a competitive level is atrocious. Like I said, we're living in the world of like the 300 horsepower Corolla. The new Priuses are making this kind of power. Minivans are making this kind of power. So in order to compete with vehicles that are just slightly above its class, like the new Z, you have to put in a lot of money. And I look at the forums, you know, I'm on Reddit. I see people with turbocharged BRZs and 86s, and I see people with supercharged BRZs and 86s, full bolt-on, this, that, and the third, and their horsepower numbers are like 300, 350, you know? You want to get to the 400, 500 range, you're not only spending money on turbos and, you know, that kind of thing, but you also need supporting mods just to make sure that it doesn't explode. And then after the engine, you have to put supporting mods on the transmission to make sure that you can actually hold that power. So what you're doing essentially is you're taking a $30,000 car and adding anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 to 15,000 just to get to the 400, 500 horsepower level, when you can spend 40,000, 45,000 and have a V8. And then on top of that, you spend 5,000 on a V8 and you're making 600 horsepower. The cost to benefit ratio, the cost to power ratio for this car is just not there for me. Not to mention, you know, people have mentioned there's like oiling issues for anyone who really tracks this car hard. So that's another thing that you have to worry about. You know, you have to check for RTV, to do all that stuff. And though it is more rare than not, it's still something that these cars are susceptible to. It's like having a history of diabetes in your family. You may not have it now, but if you don't take care of yourself, you're more likely to get it than the guy next to you who doesn't have a history of it. It's that kind of thing with this car, because that's just what Subaru does. They design their motors to work well stock and like stock plus, just a little bit more than stock, but you're not doubling your horsepower for a responsible amount of money. You're not adding 200 horsepower easily in this car. And even if you do, even if you're one of the lucky few who can pull it off, it's a matter of when. not if your engine is going to explode. And that's part of the reason why I haven't really done anything power-wise to this car. When I purchased this car, I was like, this is the build I'm going to go all out on. But then after seeing the numbers and hearing the issues that people had, you really have to analyze, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the cost to make 350 horsepower, to make 400 horsepower? So I would say that's the main con of this car. With this car and life in general, there's cost to benefit and there's risk to reward. The cost to benefit is relatively high in this car. It costs a lot to make a little bit of gain. Risk reward, you know, you're risking a lot. You can blow your motor, you could blow your trans for 300 horsepower. God forbid you do blow your motor after hitting your horsepower goal. Then you have to buy a new motor. And let me tell you, Subaru motors are not cheap, like at all. And I know cars are pay to play in general. You know, you want to have a nice car, you want to have a fast car, you got to pay the fee. You got to pay the boatman. But I don't like the idea of paying the boatman and then getting pushed off the boat before you make it to where you want to go. The next con of this car is that it's bare bones. Now, I know for this price range, and I mentioned, you get a lot of performance for this price range. You get a lot of enjoyability for this price range. You don't get a lot of luxury. And though Subaru and Toyota in general has never been known as a luxury brand, it would be nice to have a sports car with some more luxurious, sporty options. It doesn't even have to come with the car, but it would be nice to have the option of like cooled seats. You know, it would be nice to have the option of ambient lighting inside the car. And a lot of you guys are going to say, and I agree, that that's not the point of this car. If you're spending the money on this car, if you're only going to have one car and it's this one, you want it to be a little bit more comfortable. I want to have those creature comforts. Also, although the infotainment screen is great, it's responsive and all that, it does drop Bluetooth. Like occasionally I'll just lose Bluetooth connection, middle of a song, about to get to the chorus, boom, no more sound. It just stops detecting my phone. So that's, you know, just a little pet peeve. I'm sure they can update that at the dealership, but, and you know, that's something that's not going to bother a lot of people, because for a lot of people, they get this car as like a weekend / track car. For those who want this car as a daily, who are in this car for extended periods of time for things other than the track or carving up the twisted, if you're just commuting, if you're just going on a nice road trip, there are things that this car is lacking that would make those things a better experience. I do want to have a better sound system, and even though you can get that in the Limited, there are better sound systems out there. I do want to have better seats. I do want to have memory seats, you know? Though it isn't a deal breaker that this car is bare bones, because, you know, that's part of the selling point. This is a bare bones fun car. It does leave things to be desired, you know, especially if you've sat in other nicer cars, if you've seen the amenities of the new Z or the new Mustang. You come to realize that there's more out there than just carving the twisties. There's also cruising, there's comfort, and I feel like this car can do a better job of balancing that. And, you know, even if you're not about the comfort, why not offer like a sport pack with bigger brakes, better cooling, better tires? You know, like there's the premium and the Limited, and then I believe for Toyota there's like the base and then the premium. Why not offer Brembo brakes and not make it some sort of limited edition model? You know, there's people out there who would gladly spend the money. And though there are plenty of aftermarket options that will cover these needs, it would be nice if the actual manufacturer, if the OEM, offered them, because then it really shows that that's something that they're thinking about. Like Toyota offers a free track day, which is great. Subaru doesn't. So Subaru's lacking in that. But these cars are fairly bare bones, and fairly bare bones in their options coming from the factory. Listen, when traffic clears up, you got to take advantage of every opportunity. And I hate this lighting so much. I'm sorry for the stark difference. And you guys should also note that while I am discussing the cons of this car, that does not mean that this car is bad. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's in the high 8s or even a 9 out of 10 in terms of just overall what you get. drives so well. It's like a go-kart. It's literally like a street legal go-kart. Feels light, very responsive on the steering. Now, I didn't drive the last gen BRZ, but I heard that one actually had better feeling steering than this one. But coming from the 2018 WRX to this is like, it just feels way more connected and way more dialed, and it's stock. So stock for stock, I'll take this over the old WRX, you know? So yeah, I would say those are just the two main cons. Really the only cons that I can think of in this car, you know? It's just the cost to benefit. It's just dollar for dollar. The performance you get versus the risk you're taking is just not there compared to other competitors like 350, 370, the new Z, Mustangs, you know, Camaros. I feel like I would rather buy a $45,000 car that if I add $5,000 to, I'll be in the 600 horsepower, 700 horsepower range, versus buying a $30,000 car and turning it into a $45,000 car to make 300, 350 horsepower. I don't know. That's just personally. If I were bonded to this car, if this was my dream car, then I could see the value in building it like crazy. But you can say that about any car, you know? You can say that about a Kia Soul. If the Kia Soul was your dream car and you've done every mod imaginable and you still want it to be faster and you want to drop a V8 in there, go ahead. That's your prerogative. I'm just saying that the amount of money you need and the amount of risk you need to take this car from this level to this level, I would rather use that money or use that difference in the money and just buy a car that you start at a little bit of a higher level at a more expensive rate, but you have to put in less money to make more gains. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. So that, and just the more bare bones nature, the limited factory options from this car are kind of the two things that I see as cons. That was a lovely stretch of road that was not too much traffic, but now we are right back to the traffic. Those downshifts, man, so good, especially when you do it just right and you get that nice little pop. Oh. See this? I'm going 5 miles an hour. Going 5 miles an hour. This car deserves more than this. Uh-oh. So I don't know if it's clear, but this car is a good time to drive. When you're not in traffic, and traffic is not too bad even though it's a manual, it's not terrible. It's just not enjoyable. It's a pleasure to drive. This car makes the journey enjoyable. It's not just a commuter car. It makes commuting special. It makes little moments in your hour commute special, and that's more than enough value for me. Ooh, that's a state trooper. Let me go up in gear until he exits. Oh, dude, this guy's slick. He pretended that he was gonna exit and then got right back onto the highway. Oh, this guy. Anyway. Little moments like that, man. The small pulls that you can do. And I didn't pass that minivan, but it feels good. The rowing through the gears, you know, it puts you in your seat enough to feel like you're moving. The shifting is beautiful. The steering feels great. And this car looks good on the road. So if that's something that you care about, you know, you not only sound good, you're decently quick, and you look good on the road. People have thought I was a Porsche. People have broken their necks trying to figure out what this car is, and is it a Supra, is it a Porsche, is it some weird love child of both? And it's great. I like this car. It's a good car. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, that fourth to third shift. So good. So good. Beautiful, beautiful sound. So yeah, that has been my commute to work and some of my thoughts on the BRZ. Overall, this car is solid. For the money, for what you get, for the potential that it has in the looks department, maybe not so much in the power department. You know, if that's not important to you, that's great. There certainly is potential. Don't get it misconstrued that there is no power potential in this car. I'm simply saying that the risk to reward, the cost to benefit, your dollar for dollar range is worse in this car than other cars. But that's power wise. If you want to make this car look great, if you want to stance it out, if you just want to set it up for the track, it's amazing. It's a fun driving car. You feel connected to not just the car but also the road. It's really a car that you can grow in as a driver. You can become better. You know, you improve your skill set. Overall, I would give this car, like I said, high 8s, even a 9 out of 10.